95, the big station. Jacob is calling his children.
Good evening, Dominica, the Caribbean region, and the rest of the world, and welcome back to another episode of Roots Connections on Q, right here on Q95, the big station. Wherever you're joining from, whatever you might be doing at this time, I hope that you're having a great week. This is the program. It is always wonderful to be in your company for our number one program where we feature the change makers in our community, the visionaries among us who are not sitting by the sidelines talking about what we should be doing to foster change in Dominica, but they are on the front line, walking the talk and turning that passion we all have for Dominica into action for the development of our country, our region, and our people around the world. We continue to witness how quickly the world around us is changing. So here on Roots Connections, we are committed to engaging with our visionaries as we explore topics such as the changes we should be concerned about, the changes we should be taking advantage of, and what changes we need to make in order to move our Caribbean people and our region forward. And I'm sure you will agree once we start talking about the program this evening that we will be talking about some much needed changes in the way we conduct business in Dominica. So again, welcome to episode number 101 of Roots Connections on Q. I am your host, Dr. Simone Matthew. And as always, we have another packed program for you as we continue to focus on opportunities to positively impact our island, our region, and our worldwide diaspora, especially as it relates to the sustainable development of our beautiful island. So this evening, we are very grateful to be joined by, I think Kathy is coming in a little while, but for now we have Mrs. Terry Henry Lovell as well as Mr. Lester Guy, two folks that we know pretty well because they always make the sacrifice to come on these programs to educate us. And today we are looking at a growing concern in Dominica, a concern which is at the core of the success of our businesses in Dominica and the prospects for economic development. And that is, why are so many of our local businesses focused on walking in a spirit of scarcity rather than a spirit of abundance? And I will explain a little bit more as we delve into the program. So we're exploring competition versus collaboration. You know, as we celebrate the fortitude of our cultural heritage this month, and we see all the cultural activities in Dominica, we have to ask the question, how can we build and sustain our businesses through the power of community? But before we get started, I always like to start with a reminder to pray for our country, Dominica, and the many challenges that we face. We continue to pray for the safety and for an incident-free for Creole season for the rest of this month. And as always, we are grateful to you, our worldwide audience. We look forward to your contribution to the discussion, whether you call via the phone lines or you join us on Facebook and YouTube on Q95 FM radio and Push Past 10 on Facebook or on YouTube at Q95 FM radio. So when you do so, don't forget to share the live and click the notification button to find out whenever we go live. Lambi, it is always great to see you. Nice to have you facilitating the calls later, showing. Thank you, as always, for keeping us connected, Mr. G and the rest of the Q95 family. Thank you for all that you do for Dominica. So let's go ahead and give a warm Roots Connections welcome to our guests, and we thank them again for taking time out of their busy schedules to be here. So we will ask them to unmute their mics and just give a brief introduction. Just let us know who they are, where they're from, and this being Roots Connections, what is your connections to Dominica? And while you do so, I will go ahead and share the live to everyone who's waiting for the link. Let me just add Kathy to the stage. 1 second. Kathy, I'm just going to mute you because we've started already. Thanks for being here. So Terry, let's go ahead and start with you. Let's see. Let's unmute. Make sure
Yes.
Terry's
Hi,
on.
good evening.
Hi, Terry.
Hi, I was just trying to minimize some distractions.
Okay, I know you just walked in. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Mhm.
So, my name is Terry Henry Lovell. I am the CEO of Be Natural. We make natural wellness products with resources from the beehive, currently beeswax, propolis, and honey. I make a full range of natural wellness products that are used locally, sold locally in many pharmacies, supermarkets, in our top hotels, and exported regionally to a number of islands. And we're really interested in developing the whole apiculture sector and growing the connections between all different sectors, from manufacturing to wellness, health, agriculture, education. We do a lot of educational bee tours. So really just merging and overlapping and collaborating between different sectors for our personal business growth and growth of national development. Thank
Mhm. Yes, thank you. And Lester, over to you.
Hi guys, good evening. My name is Lester Guy. I have psychologist and I'm also the founder of GL Psycho Support Services, where we focus on the psychosocial determinants of health for young persons, especially psychological and mental health. Presently, I am in the seat of the lead counselor at the social service department, and I coming for wealth of experience for the past 15 years. I've been doing psychological and mental health support with persons all around Dominica and the region. It's quite a pleasure to be with you guys this evening to share my thoughts. I'm also open for learning. I'm always open for learning. I'm very down to earth. If most people who know me would know that I'm very down to earth and direct. But my passion is people. Forever people has not changed, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm passionate about people and they becoming the best versions of themselves. So it's quite a privilege to be on this program. I know that some time ago, while Kathy, when I just came back from studying, Kathy was actually trying to do something similar to that, and she had invited me on. And I think I still remember it, how impactful it was, and how we can change the lives of the Caribbean people, on a whole, knowing that we really need those type of discussions um, to help persons who, realize their true potential and what we have, the resources that we have among ourselves, and we can make our region so much better than it is. So it's good to be on the show.
Mhm. Yes, thank you for that. And we are also joined by my co-producer and co-host this evening, Miss Kathy Robinson Sellen. So before she joins in, I think you remember a couple of shows ago, we talked about that Kathy will be joining us to add her skills and expertise to our program, because that's what we do. We build relationships and we open doors and we bring in other people so that we can do even more. So I want to say a very special thank you and hats off to Kathy this evening, because she produced this program entirely. Imagine my joy. I didn't have to produce the program. So I really want to thank her for being the executive producer on this program. We came up with the topic together, and then she simply ran and did everything. She contacted Lester, she contacted Terry. So thank you, Kathy, for bringing your expertise to the table. So let's just have you introduce yourself. And again, thank you for the value that you're adding to Roots Connections. I think you're muted.
Me.
Yes,
There we go. Good evening, Lester. Hi, Terry. Um, well, I'm Kathy, and yeah, advocate for youth. I am a life coach and doing a whole set of stuff in the youth space, but as well as a holistic and well-being practitioner, holistic and well-being coach, family restorative practice as well. And I'm also an educator. I teach, and also a food safety specialist and process specialist. So I take your food safety specialist take everything from the farm to the fork. Notice I pronounced my R, okay? All right. So, um, so yeah, so I do have a couple hats, but they all fit together in terms of wellness and well-being and safety of the person, whether it's through nutrition or what we eat, exterminating a risk throughout a process from supplier line or to getting to your suppliers. And I'm glad that we have Terry in here. Hi, Terry. When I had this thing in my heel, don't ask me to the name. We have two medical experts here. You will tell me the name, I forget. You know, when you have this pain in your heel that you cannot walk, fasciitis or something like that, they call it, right? I use Terry's oil balm. Oh my God. I give all credit to my healing, no pun intended, because of that balm. And Terry, your products are amazing. You've come a very, very long way. I know you heard it a lot, but I'm so proud of you. I'm proud to know you. So, and thank you so much, Lester, for accepting. I know this week is busy for both of you. Terry,
Yeah.
probably in the park this week with your products as we're celebrating our 47 years of being a big girl, standing our own. You know, we have our bumps and everything. And as Lester mentioned, yes, when I came back and I opened my spa, Lester was my expert in counseling while I did the life coaching aspect of it. So we had a great team. And then there was Hurricane Maria. However, the experience of collaborating and having that level of framework, I'm glad I was able to put in that model and hope that it could be a model that others can use in elevating their business. And I have to say, I did see something because Terry, what really prompted me in must having you on here, your post for helping out Judy when she was on vacation with her products. I mean, this is so selfless and so giving. And it brings a level of pride. You know, it really exemplifies what pride is in culture, what pride is in helping each other. I don't want to seem feminist, but it's what we talk about, helping each other, straighten each other's crown out. And so let me give you a big hoorah for that. And as well to Lester, you've come a very long way from when you just came back. Congrats on opening your own business. Congrats on where you're at in providing these services to our population. And you also shared something with somebody else to contact me, and all that is in light of collaboration. So thank you very much for that as well. So that was
Yeah.
a long intro, but
Right.
thank you as well for talking with regards to collaboration versus competition. This was a topic very close to my heart, and when Simone and I were talking about it, she felt the same way too. So this was
Yeah, because it is a hindrance, and so we have a lot to discuss on this topic. So I want to thank all three of you for being here and for your introductions. So again, if you joined us late, we are looking at exploring a topic that is very important to the success of Dominica. Why are so many businesses stuck on thinking that resources and opportunities are scarce in Dominica rather than abundant? So we have a lot to unpack on this program. And so we are going to jump right into the conversation, and we're going to begin. I will read the bios of our two guests so we can get to know them just a little bit better before we begin the conversation. So we will start with you, Terry. Terry Henry Lovell is the CEO of Be Natural, an award-winning Dominican brand. So proud to say that, Terry. An award-winning Dominica brand creating premium personal care products from the beehive. Be Natural transforms beeswax, honey, and propolis into natural deodorants, lip balms, body butters, try to say that 5 times fast, face lotions, immune boosters, and more. These wellness products are sold locally across the Caribbean. Terry thrives on building strong local and regional linkages, and her work bridges education, apiculture, you're going to have to explain that one to us, agriculture, wellness, manufacturing, and business development. She believes that everyone does better through collaboration, just like in the beehive. I like that part. Lester. Lester Melvin Guy holds an MSc in health psychology and bachelor with honors in general psychology with clinical psychology focus. Lester was the HIV program unit coordinator for the past 8 years and was a coordinator of the Gender Affairs Unit. 15 years of experience leading support to individuals with mental health and psychological health issues. He is the founder of GL Psycho Support Services. He conducts training on stress, conflict resolution, motivation, and any health-related areas. He also facilitates grassroots programs geared to positive talk with young persons. His passion is people. He has a down-to-earth personality and is easy to connect with. He simply wants to see persons be the best version of themselves. His personal motto is education is information converted into action. So Terry and Lester, again, thank you for being here. Did I miss anything you would like to add to your bios?
No, I think that was a good intro. That was a good intro. Thank you.
So we're going to jump right into the discussion, and we're going to talk about, because we can already tell that along the way you've had to collaborate and find ways to innovate. So kind of just walk us through your business process, how your business started, the different phases you went through your business, because I think from explaining that information, we will already get to see how you were able to collaborate and how you possibly were able to use competition to propel the direction in which you went. So Terry, let's start with you. Tell us how your business got started and the different phases you went through and the role of collaboration and competition in what you do.
Okay, well, all right. So my business started my current business, Be Natural, I should say, started in 2018. Before that, I was working in various wellness fields. I'm a massage therapist, a nature guide, and I organized wellness events. Was very much involved in the the natural health and wellness space. And 2017 was the pivotal moment for many of us with Maria, and it changed our life path in many ways. So I really had to make a choice then, and it'd been the seed had been planted already. So Maria just put plenty water on it for it to grow. Yeah. And I decided to move into a product-based business rather than a service-based business. So I've kind of come full circle now because I do products and services again. So it just started as a little idea of making a few natural products in the midst of recovering from the devastation of Maria, of realizing there was no just back to normal the next day or the next year. So just figuring something else out. And I kind of stumbled into bees. I credit a lot of what I've done over the years to just divine inspiration. It's just something that comes through me, and I just listen and follow the breadcrumbs. So I don't have to have everything all mapped out. I've never had a huge business plan or, okay, how was this? I just was like, oh, well, I'm kind of interested in bees. So let me get some beeswax and start talking to beekeepers. And I started making natural products with beeswax, and then just got more and more involved into the world of beekeeping, which is apiculture. That's the fancy word for it. Um, and yeah, it just went from there, and really just really putting one foot in front of the other each time, and then when you're at the next destination, you say, okay, you can see a little further, and then you take a few more steps and you see a little further. And the last few years there's been a lot of success, a lot of recognition, a lot of awards, but there's also been a huge amount of sacrifices, late nights, and extreme hard work behind the scenes. I'm not complaining about it. It's all part of the process. But maybe people don't see that. I mean, we've been going since 2018, so that's 7 years now. Just building incrementally, and there's a lot more in store.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah, so we have a lot to discuss surrounding, again, why so many other people do not think the same way when they think about the opportunities to open up. Kathy already talked about that collaboration and the relationship that you have with Jody. So, we will explore that a little bit more in depth. But Lester, kind of just tell us your thoughts on competition versus collaboration, because that is a mindset, right? So you've been in the field of psychology, kind of to help us to understand your thoughts on competition versus collaboration.
Okay, Simon. So it's an interesting conversation, and let me address it that way. I was in a training some time ago. We're doing some, it was system development at the Caribbean level, and then the consultant made a very interesting point that resonated with me for a minute. And he was saying one of the things that we don't teach in the Caribbean is entrepreneurship. We are so focused on the academics or the chemistry, the maths, and the sciences, and so on. And that every time someone who's in a small island comes up with an idea, they start off doing very well, and then so many persons copy that idea. And sometimes the person who spearheaded it from the beginning sometimes falls short because somebody comes with the same idea and they're a little more innovative, so they build on it, which is absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. But in a community like ours in Dominica, where our population is so small, it's very difficult sometimes for people to embrace the idea of, if I come up with an idea, instead of collaborating with you, I want to keep it to myself because that's how I'm gonna make finances. That's how I'm gonna be successful. And we have to be honest with ourselves when we have discussions like this. I try to be, as I said, as practical as possible. The idea of competition is not anything unique to Caribbean people. It's all over the world. That is it. Once you're talking about business and business entrepreneurship, at any level, competition is going to be there because you want to put the best market, the best product on the market. There's Samsung, there's Apple, there is Nokia, there is Hawaii, or however they pronounce it. So it's a normal thing. The competition is going to be there. But one of the things that I've recognized in the Caribbean, and probably Terry will probably attest to this, and even myself, what I'm offering is something that I'm actually hoping that more people are offering, which is strange enough. As much as for me, it's a service that I think that, okay, if it's lucrative, but we're talking about people's health. So I feel differently about it because it's not a business product. It's a service that is going to enhance my society. So I am not against, I'm not opposed to other persons who are doing it. Good. So let's shift that aside. We have to also look at competition within our cultural setting from a slavery point of view. And it's important that we look at it that way. And even today, I was talking to some young men. I was trying to get them to understand where the concept of being masculine has developed or have evolved for us black men. what it represents. And it can get distorted on the way if we don't have the right guidance. And competition has been part and parcel of who we are because on that slave farm, if I'm the slave who was ripping the most cotton, the master is going to reward me. The same for the house slave. And if we've looked at historical movies on slavery, we realize sometimes the slave who is more up to doing what the master says, even though it's at the cost of his fellow men, will continue doing it because he wants privilege. And we can't uproot that. It's very difficult to uproot it. But let's put that in the parking lot, Kathy, and look at the Caucasian people and how they manage competition.
Yeah.
We can look at the Indians and how they deal with competition. Let's look at the Chinese and how they deal with competition. Most of us who have lived outside of Dominica and have interacted with Indian people realize 10 of them will stay in one house, and then
Yep.
all of them are probably thousandaires. I don't want to say millionaires.
Yes.
You understand?
It could be millionaires too, though.
So there's a collaborative effort that when everybody gets out of the situation that they are in, everybody is in a lucrative business and they will join forces. But for some strange reason, it's very difficult for us black people to do that because we have been socialized and culturalized, if that's even a word, as to we're supposed to be crabbing the barrel and to rise above the rest. And I have a very personal experience I can share. A very
Yes.
good friend of mine who we are extremely close. And sometimes I wonder, the person is trying certain things and say, but why not just rope me in and see how I can bring a level of resources to you that we both can grow together. And I say that to my friends all the time. I'm having a discussion with a friend of mine recently. I'm telling, if you're making $5,000 or $10,000 at the end of the month, and I am making 10,000 also, isn't it better that when we're hanging out, we decide to take a trip together? It's going to be so much fun for the both of us because both of us are making money. But if you're holding on to it, for you to lord over the fact that you can have a car which is costing $70,000 and I have to buy one that's $20,000, not to none of our benefit. But we are cultured like that. And when Kathy make the point about Terry and how she assisted Jody, I find that it's remarkable because you guys are selling similar products. But it's not about you, it's about selling your country and the products that your country have. And that can accentuate the reach of Dominica. And here's an important point. Again, I just want to kind of make sure that I make it as practical for the listening public as possible. I remember there was this kiss on bouillon music and who had started it in Dominica. I don't know if you guys remember that. And these are the things. Why can't we say collaboratively we did it together? Let's all benefit from it. Because everybody wants to be the first in everything. But this is also innate. That is very innate. And it's until we realize that we have to regulate our actions among the people who are close to us and are within the same field with us, we recognize that if we are doing it together, it will be a lot more beneficial for all of us.
Yeah,
So,
that's some powerful statements, Lester, and I want to explore some more what you're talking about. But first, let me ask Terry, because I think it is so important what Lester said in the beginning, which is kind of at the core of what we're talking about. Why do you get the sense that a lot of people in Dominica feel that if I try to collaborate with this person, they will steal my idea? Has it happened to you? Is it not something that you're concerned about, especially when with the relationship with you and Jody? Why is that not a factor for you? But yes, it's a factor for everybody else. So the whole discussion surrounding if I collaborate with you, you will steal my ideas is a real issue in Dominica. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay. All right. So there's a lot in that, right? The what each of us brings to the table, right, is unique. I'm walking my path. There's plenty other people walking their path. So the idea of copying something, you're really copying something on a very superficial level. you cannot copy my thought processes. You cannot copy my history. You cannot copy everything that brought me to this point and this awareness that I have that makes me able to make a product. So if you want to go and look at my label and try to bring, put something together that's a similar product and bring out that, you know, you may be copying something, but you can't copy the essence of me, and I can't copy the essence of anyone else, right? So I think that knowing that, it kind of frees you to be more collaborative because you know who you are and you know where you stand. Um, Also, I've been involved in the wellness sector for a long time, and there's a great spirit of collaboration within that sector because, like Lester said, we're all really wanting the best for our people. We want them to have access to healthy foods, healthy products, healthy services. So the more we can collaborate, it's for a bigger vision. It's not just about our own business. And we know that our own business will thrive if we collaborate more with others. Um, there's also the idea of really having that, again, it comes back to that uniqueness of having your niche. Um, not being so general, right? Because there's, and we can maybe start general, but then I think we really have to figure out what is our niche that we're looking at. So even though like Jody and I, Miss Sana from Nature Search, Lana from Eclat Nova Luxuries, we may offer similar products, but we each have a niche. We each have a focus, and they overlap. And I will gladly send people to any of them when I don't have something that can meet the customer needs. I mean, I'm in TV Large right now, and a customer came and I have a bug balm, right? I have an insect repellent balm. And she's like, yeah, but I really wanted like a spray. And, I could have stayed there and convinced her, like, okay, but this is really great. And I'm like, you know what, bumping soaps down there across the road, I think you have a spray because that's what she wants, right? And so I'm helping her. And, maybe she wouldn't, maybe she'll say, I send her, maybe she won't. I really also believe that everything that you put out comes around. What goes around comes around. And having a generosity of your spirit, having a generosity of sharing, it comes back to you. It just does. Like you mention somebody's name in a room, eventually someone's going to mention your name in a room, and you get a link, you get a connection, and things work out. I mean, just labeling Jody's products, that was no big deal, like, I just did it, and then I just decided to make a little reel out of it because Jody's amazing at social media, and I felt like, oh, I should be proud that I actually made a video of it. When I was offered to do the room amenities for Secret Bay, and they asked me to produce shampoo, conditioner, and lotions, right? And I'm like, yeah, I could force myself to figure out, how to make shampoo and conditioner. But like Jody does that already. That's her jam. So I collabed with her and I brought her into that. And so now we both make products for Secret Bay. And then we were together on a Caribbean cruise, and she had somebody from St. Lucia she connected me with. So now I have outlet, a connection in St. Lucia. So again, it's just what goes around comes around. Just be a good, generous, kind human being, and life, most of the time it flows a little better.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. And I'm keeping everybody else's mics muted because we're getting a little bit of a feedback. That's why I muted the other two guests. But the reason, guys, I wanted to have this conversation in particular, and that's one of the reasons I'm happy that Lester is here so we can talk about mindset. Because I think it was last year, there was this heated, passionate conversation on Facebook. And folks were upset. Do you know what people were upset about? that somebody was making Dominica coconut cheese. This is a true story, guys. Someone was making Dominica coconut cheese in New Jersey, and somebody else started making Dominica coconut cheese in Texas. And people were outraged. They were flabbergasted. How dare that person, I know, Lester, I see your face. How dare that person in Texas make coconut cheese, because already somebody in New Jersey is making coconut cheese, and that person should stay out of the way and let only one person make them. And highly educated people were jumping in on the discussion and shredding the person in Houston to pieces, because you should not be making coconut cheese because somebody is already doing that. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? So what we are seeing here is that this is a mindset not only in Dominica, but this is a mindset that we're taking out of Dominica, and it's permeating wherever we go. And it's a hindrance. It is a hindrance to our success as Dominicans when we think that, and this is just an example, right? When we think that only one person should make coconut cheese in a country of millions of people, right? So that is one of the reasons I was so excited, because I've been wanting to do a program on that topic. So I was very excited when Kathy and I decided to take on this topic, because it is getting in the way. You know, we wish we had more Terrys and more Jodies on the ground who can see the value of collaboration. But I want to go back to what Lester was talking about slavery. But before we do, Kathy, let me have you chime in 5 minutes or less, Kathy. We know you could talk for the 2 hours. but tell us, because we always think of competition as a negative. But tell us, what are the benefits of competition? You can unmute. Oh, I can unmute you too. You got it?
Okay. Competition is a healthy thing, and Terry mentioned it about, not Terry, Lester mentioned it when he spoke about being innovative. It brings innovation in, and combined with what Terry mentioned about niche building, if your product is differentiated, there's nothing to be afraid of. People cannot take away the authenticity of your thought process. They cannot take away the authenticity of your product. Okay, because as she said, everybody follows their own journey. And I couldn't have said it better. Oh, I love that, Terry. The essence of me. And you know I'm going to steal it. I'm very sorry. I wrote it down with 3 exclamation marks at the end. And it is so rightfully so what Lester mentioned when he spoke about conditioning of us in the slavery mentality and the slavery context. Bob Marley said, emancipate yourself from what? Mental slavery, which still, and we always talk about the crab in the black crab syndrome, but I do not think we take it seriously unless we're speaking about quote unquote first world countries, which also is a conditioning mindset that we are far down the hole. But we have to say, if I have to just shift a little bit, even in internet and stuff, we in Dominica were far eons ahead of the American populace when it comes to internet. But anyway, that's just a bad thing in terms of our mentality when it comes to how we can progress and where we can be. Even we look at our consulting industry, we always think somebody from outside can do it better than somebody within our space. I was the only certified food safety specialist and HACCP specialist in Dominica. And I was insulted when someone who pulled stuff off the internet to do she was recruited to do a HACCP training in the Caribbean, in the Kalinago territory, and tried to recruit me. And I had to turn her down because I am not going to pursue money. I'm a quality individual. And that is what I see in what Terry and Jody collaborated with. It's not about the money. It's about the quality of your product and what you put out there. So yes, our mentality in terms of being conditioned in slave mentality and standing out. You spoke about standing out, Lester, and we see it in the academic arena still, where the children who excel in academic area get the awards. Not all the children, not everybody is academically inclined. And as Lester rightly said, entrepreneurship has to be brought into the academic space. The technical schools, what happened to the technical schools? So other than that being a cultural thing that has been ingrained in us from all those years, the mindset is going to take a lot of time to change. But then we have to be open to change. And if we're not open to changing our mindset, it's already a no-no. You know,
but I want to go back to what, because Lester, I had never thought about that before. So I think it is so profound that you brought up the scarcity of resources that goes all the way back to slavery, because we have to really ask ourselves that question: why is it that we see other races being so quick? And guys on our Facebook, I'm seeing the comments, please keep them coming. And also tell us about your challenges. Tell us about, if you started a business and you had it to innovate to remain competitive, or if you have a side hustle and how you changed to remain competitive, because at the end of the day, that is what it boils down to. People, we want to remain competitive so we can make more money. But I had never really thought about it, and I'm so happy Lester brought up that point, that this goes back all the way to slavery. So I want us to kind of chime in on that and just talk about the fact that, this has culturally been handed down probably from generation to generation. But then on the flip side, right, when we look at those who came before us and the way they were able to collaborate, it makes us wonder, because then we look at the cooperatives that were formed as part of our earlier culture. We look at how our neighbors fed each other. I'm a living example of watching my mom feed my neighbors lunch every day, how neighbors would look after the children. When your neighbor had to go to the garden, had to go to town to get groceries or something. So it makes me wonder, right? How is it that on one level we had all this collaboration going on in years of past, but now, so is the whole slavery thing like sneaking in on us now, Lester?
Sorry, before Lester answers, can I just chime in a little bit?
Yes.
Simone, that brings me so much to, as you say about the village. Yes, all of us here, it takes a village to raise a child. But also, based on the question that you're asking, it has a lot also, I see, where we have adopted the individuality concept of Western culture. We have moved from the community mindset to an individual mindset, also bolstered by I do better than you, you do better than me. And I mean, as a teacher too, I've seen it even too in the little ones. Everybody wants to be in the front of the line. It doesn't matter where you are at. We're all going to get to the same destination. But it starts from small. And that is where we have to start changing the mindset and teaching children that competition is healthy. To avoid fatigue and groupthink and stuff like that. There is a level of individuality, of course, you have to maintain, as Terry mentioned, with terms of authenticity and keeping your niche. But there is a time where collaboration enables sustainability so much more than individuality.
Yes.
Take it away, Lester.
Thank you, Lester.
So it's amazing, the different facets you can look at this. And let me say this. You remember when there was common entrance examination? Most of us would have experienced.
Yep, I did.
Now they have just the grade 6 assessment exam in high school because it's universal education, in quotation. But you remember if you didn't pass common entrance, if you didn't get a bursary, you didn't get a scholarship, what it meant in your community, in your setting, in your family.
Yes.
Remember, like inferiority versus industry
Right.
system that we had. But guess what? This is an old psychological concept from Eric Erikson of
Mm-hmm.
psycho-emotional development. So
Right.
it's a normal thing that once you're growing up, even us parents, my child spoke at 11 months. Oh, no, no, my child spoke at 8 months. These things are ingrained in the fiber of our society. And it's not something that we can just mind, we can just extract from people because we are human beings. Eve left Adam's side, if we are Bible believing people, so that she can see better, even if she was fooled, if we look at it from a religious point of view. Cain and Abel both made offering to God. And because one was accepted, the other one got angry and killed his brother. So this is an innate human being thing. But let me tell you guys where I think it's important for us to shift that paradigm. And that's why I did mention from the beginning the work that Jody does from a business perspective and what I do from a service perspective is different.
Very much so. Mm-hmm.
Very, very different. I want to see people become the best version of themselves. And if you have to get psychological help, then it's okay for me. If I know I cannot meet the needs of a young woman who's depressed or had postpartum depression, and I know one of my female counselors can do that, I want that for her. But
Exactly.
then let's look at it from a different perspective now. If Jody and Terry is doing something similar, and she's saying, "Yo, I have clients in Dominica, St. Vincent, Barbados," and Jody is getting into that niche, and I'm like, "Wow, that's gonna cut my dollars that I'm making." Then people react to it differently,
Right.
and that's the thing. We have to be very practical about how we look at it from a competitive point of view. But it's only when we have done a bit of self-evaluation, like Terry did, and realize, yo, if me and Jody are working hand in hand with something that we know is significant, is a good product, why can we both benefit? Now, there's another point that you made, Kathy. We talk about our children being brought up in a society where everybody looks at them. That wasn't competition. Because you see, the thing is, my mom needed the neighbor to look at me sometime because the neighbor needed my mom to look at the children sometime.
Exactly.
So it wasn't a competition. It was just giving you a helping hand. But if my mom decides she's making the coconut cheese and the tablet and she's making money, and the neighbor decides to do the same thing, I can assure you, almost 90%, Terry, that the neighbor, we must start fesa, if you cafe at Chelma. Ice pop, typical stuff. If the lady next door is making ice pop, you will find, okay, more children are going to buy, so it's something that's going to cut my finances. There's going to be a level of conflict. It's just a normal thing. But let's say one says, make ice pop, I'll make icicles. Or I'll make Virgin Joyce, if you guys remember what Virgin Joyce was. You remember what Virgin Joyce
Yep,
was?
of course.
Then
Frozen joys.
that the children are going to decide on Sundays, this is what I want. On some days, it's ice cream I want. So I'm going to go to Miss John and sometimes I'm going to go to Miss James. But we were not thinking like that. So with the care of the children, it's totally different because it's a need that you have, that I will need you sometime because I'm going to make some extra money. But with the selling of the product, so we also have to make a comparative analysis between services and products. And that's where sometimes we allow the lines to get crossed and say, but why is there so much competition? I will tell you, for example, the incident that you used with the girl in Texas and the one in Texas and the one in New Jersey. In America, have millions of people.
Thank you.
It's not going to affect your sales. But guess what? If you walk in town right now, the amount of horses you see selling juice around the thing, somebody's going to have a problem. I started that idea, and right now, their bosses, about 10 of them around town. You're taking from me, and it might be my livelihood. So I am going to react to you. But when we make self-evaluation, Terry, is when we realize, yo, yes, I have to eat, but somebody else has to eat also. So why not come together and make a corporation?
Right.
And you decide you have 4 corners, I have 4 corners.
Right.
And I encourage that a lot. Recently, we did some training with the Kalinago women and some women farmers, and we're saying, why not cooperate together? So if you're making 10 pounds and Jody is making 10 pounds and Kathy is making 10 pounds, and Richard asks for 40 pounds, we can give them 40 pounds. But me alone cannot produce the 30 pounds. You understand what I'm saying? So we all are going to benefit. And it's about evaluating where we are, evaluating the circumstances surrounding us, and being able to realize, yo, it's to our benefit if we are collaborative. It's to our benefit if we are cooperative. You understand? But a lot of times, sometimes people get so caught up in, how will you say, the rat race, and they want to be the one who buys who builds the biggest house and buy the fanciest car, because on television, that is what they're seeing, to let the world know that this is my status, this is me. We lose track of how beneficial it can be in the long run for us, because we are very short-sighted. That's the problem with us in the Caribbean. We are short-sighted. We want the quick buck. We don't see building a foundation that is sustainable, and that would come up a lot. Sustainability. We don't know how to sustain the things that we have, because we are so quick to make the fast buck that we water it down and we lose it. And it happens so much when people start businesses and the food is great. The food is great. The food is good. You want to go back there, Terry. And 6 months down the line, nobody wants to go there because, oh, the chicken used to taste so much better before. So we have to be very practical when you look at it. And that's my point on this, yeah?
Yeah. Very, very powerful, Lester. Very, very. Oh, I think we have a phone call coming in. Let's go to the studio.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead with your call.
Good night, Lambert.
Good night.
And good night to Miss Matthew and the guests.
Good evening.
Terry and the guests and the other people manufacturing. Matthew, good night, Miss Simon.
Good evening.
Okay. I'm just very enlightened of your education and your panelists. And for something to resonate in us, I think we have to have more education. Constant. I think maybe your program is too far apart. And people are too driven away already. They're in the wilderness and it's hard to get them back. I just love to hear that brother talk, Terry. Because everything he's saying, like, it makes real sense. Because if you go back just 40 years ago, all what he's saying that was happening, the people used to make all the different things and in no grudge, who making ice pop, ice cream, and the neighbors was getting along well. It was a matter of our thinking now, today. And they live longer than us with less. Like in health-wise, they live longer. The grannies and them live 80, 90. They never die in the hospital. They die at the home. All grandchildren singing some song before they left this world. Bring a cup of water for them. Comb their hair, cut their nails, and they die in bed. It was to make us better. Yeah, the man right there, the gentleman from Marigot right there, I mean, we was neighbors, and I can tell you, I wouldn't expose his bringing up, but it's something else. His grandmother was a magician, I mean, and many other people in my community asked for the women. They was powerful. They make a lot of money, and I'm not talking about today, I'm telling you about in the 50s, in the 60s. You can't believe how these people was doing it. And what Terry saying is sure that I work with Judy products. I give her raw materials, like I make different products. So I just give a lot of raw materials like the powder, neem powder, cayenne products, hair miracle, hair growth, rosemary oil, because she do more the retail, I do more the wholesale, because I can't do all these things. And like what the brother is saying there, if we want to get somewhere, we have to come like the Chinese. That's what all the Chinese set up all those little shops in rows, and they don't cursing one another, they don't fighting with one another. And they make it as small as we think it, because they work smart. And they don't work with the grudge, and I really appreciate it. And it's today I was telling a business place, I want to call the name on the program, in Roseau. They have 3 big medical supermarkets. We buy the raw materials from them, and I tell them, but by now, they're supposed to have an enterprise with those Dominica products. Just look at the amount of, in this T-Villas Creole, something like 100 and something or 200 local products displayed in a booth. You had NDF had something on Friday going on the roadside there, 100 and something people, and it still have more. So you can imagine if we had a big supermarket, a big spot somewhere at the bayfront, and we had good marketing people like you, Matthew, out in the States. You had a boutique up there, and we had a good trading. Since this man come in America, there you see cutting down on all the trading in Grenada. Grenada was exporting fish and the spices and the oil. And I was telling them today, but look at, I know when the businessman starts, he starts from zero without nothing. I don't grudge him, but we build him, and then today we have to still come and buy all the raw materials from them, the bottles, the oil. And sometimes just because you might have a difference with the person that doing the ordering, I wouldn't get into all the details. Yet the same thing Terry saying that they want to hold a little grudge, and then you have to come and buy all the raw material, and I tell them it's unfair. We have to support our own. Look at the amount of products we have just wasted. Lemongrass, you know how expensive lemongrass oil is? Something that's good for cancer, skin, your melanin, and we just have them things wasting partially. And I tell them that today we're not getting nowhere. The European Union give us a training some years back. I think Mr. William, the former president, he did that training with us. It was the whole European Union that sent down something like 40 million to train us. But we had to have cooperative, and that is where Perry's saying. Why we didn't get the money? We wasn't that cooperative. They give us certain training to a certain distance. They give us a business plan certificate to say that we do the training, but it's ourselves. For us to get the cash, we had to have cooperative, and we never had that. And we lose out on that money, and we get the training, but then we still wasn't working together, and that is the problem with us. And today I'm glad to hear the Prime Minister say you're making a product, you're making what? Honey, and you have a booth at the Creole Villas. The Prime Minister have a booth boasting that he's making honey, and I don't have a problem with that. I would love to see his products next to Judy products, Hunter Calypsonian, Hunter pepper sauce. I would love to see it. I make cayenne oil. If you go by Smart, you'll see the cayenne oil, the ginger oil, garlic oil, nutmeg cream, cayenne cream, bitter melon cream. If you go by a stuff and you see some of those products there, rosemary oil, neem oil, I make some of them, but then it's our little marketplace to school. We don't have the population.
But thank you so much, caller. You're making some really good points. Yes. Thank you for calling in and making such a valuable contribution. It's right around the time to give out the numbers, so let's just go ahead and get out the numbers. And then, guys, when we come back, we're going to talk about scarcity, the perception, because I think it is perceived that is scarcity. Because as we started talking about, if we consider using innovation, adopting technology, social media marketing, then that opens up a whole new world of opportunities for us as business people, for our side hustles, just in terms of gaining financial success. So we're going to look at scarcity. Is it perceived? Is it real? What are your thoughts on that? But Lambi, let's go ahead and give out the numbers, and then we will go over to Facebook for a couple of comments.
Roots Connection and Q, taking your calls right now. The numbers are as follow: 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are local numbers. The overseas or international number, 305-432-9624. Let me run those numbers one more time. Local numbers, 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. And the overseas or international number, 305-432-9624. Back to you, Simon.
Yes, thank you for that. And again, if you joined us late, you're listening to Roots Connections on Q. And today we are exploring with so many Dominican businesses focused on walking in a spirit of scarcity rather than a spirit of abundance. How can we confront this issue head on to secure the success of our businesses, and we're happy to be joined by Terry from B Naturals, from Lester from GL Cycle Support Services, and our co-producer and co-host, Mrs. Kathy Robinson Sellen. So let's take some comments on Facebook, guys. Thank you for jumping on the Facebook and YouTube. We have Anthony Simon. Good evening to you, Anthony. Cal Kofi James, always wonderful to see you. Mighty and highly high greetings, Simone, Kathy, and the rest of the panel. Thank you. Sharon Dorival, that's a deep question. Businesses often operate in the spirit of scarcity due to a few reasons: limited resources, mindset, risk management, traditional business models, fear of loss. On the flip side, businesses walking in the spirit of abundance focus on growth, collaboration, and innovation, believing there's enough to go around. They often see more opportunities from partnerships. She continues, there can also be a lot of creative competition. And she says, to me, collaboration has propelled me. And then we have David Hector. Good evening to all. And he's locked in from, New Jersey. Yes. So is scarcity perceived, or is it a reality in Dominica? Terry, as a business owner, your thoughts?
Okay. Yeah, I think sometimes the scarcity is real.
Mm-hmm.
There may be a certain resource that you're using that may be a scarce resource, like literally a scarce resource. I mean, I use propolis in my products. It's a scarce resource in the hive. It's difficult to get, and it's not abundant. It's not something that, I can be just sharing around. Hey, yeah, sure, I can lend you this or whatever. But on the topic of competition, I mean, I love competition. I think that I'm very competitive. I'm very ambitious, but I don't see competition being there to the exclusion of collaboration. I think they both actually really work together. And the thing is that I'm most competing against myself, where I was. I don't ever want to look back a year or even 6 months and say I'm in the same place that I was, So I'm always kind of competing against myself, but then I don't do that in a vacuum. I do that in connection with other entrepreneurs who are also growing, who are also expanding. And I'm like, wow, they're doing that. So that just gives me the edge. It gives me the motivation. It gives me the encouragement to keep pushing myself forward. In terms of like the copycatting, it does happen, right? There's a lot of people doing the same products, and I think that's a lack of innovation. Right now, there seems to be like 100 people doing cocoa sticks, and there really isn't enough cocoa to go around. Everybody that's making cocoa sticks is complaining that there's not enough cocoa beans to supply the demand. So maybe you all need to pivot and not do everybody making cocoa sticks, I think it comes down to, being innovative and doing something unique, maybe doing cocoa flavored something else, or something else completely different, right?
Exactly.
If there is a scarcity of a particular resource, right? So in my case, like propolis, beeswax, those things are not hugely abundant. So, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of in a position now where I would seek to protect certain resources I have that enable my business to thrive, right? Let's not be too, overly idealistic, right? Business is about growth. I have employees. I need to make sure I meet their salaries at the end of the month. And, we need to be responsible business owners, and we can't just throw away every idea and thing. And there is a certain protectiveness, but there's also the collaboration. It's really not either or. And it's really being fluid and knowing when to give, when to receive, when to move forward by yourself, when to bring the group with you, and those kind of things. And yeah, I think it really just depends on the business you're in. For me, it's when I see somebody like copycatting, it just is disappointing. You know, it's annoying and then it's disappointing because I'm like, there's a gazillion things out there that you can do, you know. I mean, I don't even have enough time in the day to pursue the amount of ideas that come out of my head. So just spend some time, generate your own ideas. And even if you're doing a product that's very similar to mine, you know, like obviously not all of us are going to be unicorns, right? Not all of us are going to be so uniquely different that, like in the matter of, you know, coconut cheese, for instance, or whatever, you know, we might be making even a similar product or the same product, but don't go and copy the person's marketing. You know, don't go and make the same social media thing. Don't go and just like copy and paste the Instagram and put it into yours. Like that's plagiarism. That's not cool. You know, the product can be very similar, but don't copy in, you know, intellectual property. So there's like, you know, there's certain times where you have to have boundaries, and there's certain times you have to be super open and super ready for collaboration. And sometimes, like I said, even today, you might miss out on a sale, right? Like I miss out on a sale because I didn't push my one product because I want the best for that person. The person want the spray, I have a bomb. Go and get your spray, you know? Maybe if it was somebody with a very similar product, I would sell my product, you know, because I know the value of my product. So again, it's, you know, I think it's the it's not about either or. It's competition and collaboration. It's
Yeah,
protective and open, you know,
yeah.
and sometimes those fluidities can be difficult to navigate and, you know, move forward with. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Can
Hold
I?
on, Kathy. I'm coming to you in a minute.
Okay.
But Lester, let me ask you this, because we're talking about scarcity, but we're also talking about the importance of pivoting, right? So I just read your bio, and you went from HIV unit coordinator, coordinator for gender affairs, but you also pivoted and started your new business, right? So that is something we need to consider as well, because for me, the way I see it is, I don't own anything, right? I'm like Terry, I have a million, and like Kathy, I have a million ideas flowing through my brain all day long about different business opportunities. So I think it is incumbent on us that if, for example, we see the cocoa stick space becoming crowded, well, how can we pivot? How can we innovate? How can we do something slightly different to give us a competitive edge? And for me, of course, during COVID, everyone pivoted to social media, right? So I got into social media, learned everything, because I'm a student by nature. I like to learn. I learned everything about social media, and then eventually started a social media marketing business, because that's what you do. You learn, and then, you know, you create a business out of what you learn. And then I realized the space was becoming very crowded, because everybody was calling themselves a social media manager. And I thought to myself, well, am I going to go and blast people on Facebook? Oh, you stole my idea. I started social media marketing. And then this other person going to be like, well, I started before you. I'm like, I'm not going to do this back and forth. So being interested in health and wellness as well, I said, well, this is the opportunity now for me to pivot and focus more on my work on health and wellness in our community. And so I set social media marketing to the side. I still have the skills if anybody wants the opportunity. But as of this month, I'm now the community outreach specialist for a nonprofit organization here in Georgia, because I changed my focus and I pivoted, because I wasn't going to get stuck on being upset and arguing over the fact that so many other people had learned the skill that is available for anybody to learn, right? So kind of talk to us, Lester, about, you know, that mindset that is required to go from one aspect of your career to the next aspect of your career, because we see so many times people get stuck. You know, we hear about people getting stuck in jobs in Dominica, and they're in their 80s and they're still holding on to that job. so kind of talk to us about that. And then Kathy, I want to come to you. You're muted, Lester.
Really good. It's really good that you brought that up. And mine was a planned thing. It was well planned. It was
Good.
strategized. So I did nursing. I did a diploma in mental health nursing, and I fell in love with psychology. The first time that I had a lecture on psychology, I fell in love. I literally fell in love. So guess what? So I went out there, got a scholarship, went to do general psychology, and I came back to Dominica in 2010, and I'm like, okay, I really love clinical psychology. That's my passion. But how do I market myself where I can have something that's a little more extensive than just clinical or counseling psychology? And I'm here thinking it through. So I worked as a nurse, then I worked at the prison as a nurse and a counselor, and then I got employed at the HIV unit as a social worker without a social worker background. But because we don't have a lot of young people who are drawn towards social sciences, I got that opportunity. And guess what? I decided I wanted to do a degree, my second degree, and there were two marked things about it. I wanted to make sure that I did my second degree in a first world country because I'd done my first degree in Mexico, which is considered kind of a second world country. And I said, I'm going to do health psychology. I looked at the course content. And within that course content was the psychological aspects of health, the socio-behavioral aspects of health, the psychological and emotional aspects of health, health promotion, system development, right? And a bunch of other things like adherence, and so on. So when I saw the course content, I'm like, wow, if I go to do something like that, whenever I come back to Dominica or in the Caribbean at any given time, I have a multitude of skills that I've picked up that I don't have to limit myself, Kathy. You understand? So I decided I'm going to do this. There are other people who have been doing counseling psychology, who are doing clinical psychology viewing and so on. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this. I want to be a little more extensive. So I come back to Dominica in 2016, and I'm like, okay, yes, I can continue working as a social worker. But guess what? The universe was kind enough for something to happen that I was offered to run the HIV program. So this had nothing directly related to psychology because I was already doing counseling at the HIV unit. I was still doing a bit of social work, because of the need, because we don't have people who are falling in this thing. And then when they asked me to go to gender, I'm like, okay, but this is my forte. So I can manage a program for you because I do a bit of program management and so on, strategic planning and so on. So I made myself so marketable that I wasn't limiting myself. So if I'm out there doing a training, I'm out there doing life skills, I'm out there doing mentorship, I'm out there doing coaching, it's because I planned it, Terry. It wasn't something I just did a pass on. It didn't just fall on me. I planned it. Because I realize in our society, we don't have the skilled persons to do most of those things. So why not make yourself multifaceted? And that's the thing. So the pivoting for me was well planned. Simon, it was planned because I saw the need of my community. I saw the grassroots programs I would like to get involved in. I see the self-empowerment programs I would like to get in, the self-enhancement programs I would like to get. But I also want to do a bit of clinical psychology also, so I hold on to that skill. And that's what makes me so versed, because I'm a Mr. Guy. But anywhere somebody tells you to do something, you can do it, man. And that's just who I am. I will speak with children, I will speak with grown-ups, I'll speak at a minister's meeting, but I'll speak with the guys on the block. That's making yourself marketable. And I'm not even sure for the times that I've been at so many regional functions, and I have hardly actually knocked heads with another health psychologist. Hardly in the Caribbean. It's either counseling psychology or counseling or something like that. So it just made me who I am. And that's the thing, is the pivoting is sometimes you see the need. I saw the need beforehand. And even today I was saying of a friend of mine, as much as everybody wants to go to the bigger country, I'm like, yo, I want to make an impact on a level. I want to leave a legacy, Kathy. So I wasn't quick to want to run and leave and go. You understand? Because I want to leave a legacy. I see the needs of my people. So that's the thing about it. Simon, you're muted.
Realize I muted myself. Yeah, that is powerful because those are a lot of things that we do not think of, right? So many, and I'm speaking now of the younger people. Many young people do not think in terms of how can I make myself marketable, because, and I think you mentioned it before, we're just so short-sighted that what we see is we need $1 today, right? So what is going to be the fastest way to earn $1? And many times, unfortunately, that is what Terry was talking about, copy and paste, stealing somebody's idea. But I like how she said, you cannot steal the essence of who I am. That is so powerful. And a lot of people need to understand that better. But how are we making ourselves marketable? And then the important thing as well is how are we converting our skills? So you take one skill set, like Terry was talking about, being in the wellness space for many years before she started her products. And what are the skill sets Terry now took from that wellness industry to create her own business? So when we come back from Kathy and Terry, I want you to help us with that question. Kathy, go ahead.
Oh, this is so full, so much to talk about.
We need a part two.
I
I'm
know,
just letting you
right?
guys know this has to be a continuing conversation.
Definitely.
Maybe sometime early next year, because there's so much more to talk about, and
There'll
it's
always
so
be.
important.
Yes. So I'm gonna go a couple years back. When I worked at the Bureau of Standards with Dr. John, one of the things that was, I had a certain portfolio, and one of the committees I was responsible for as a technical officer for the committee for manufacturers. And we put together APAD, which was the Producers Association. I like the idea about the cooperatives because that is what we were advocating. It also brings down the cost of production. How many people in Dominica make bottles, for example, need bottles for their product, for example? Everybody wants to order their own little shipment of bottles, which sends the price up phenomenally. The labor cost already is phenomenal. And not only the labor cost is phenomenal, the employees, I am not no bad thing, but the quality of customer service and the effort in which they put their work and the pride sometimes now is not, there's no parallelism between what their output and what you have to pay them. So here goes your cost of production again. So that's what I wanted to remembering our purpose and our why for our businesses will also set you apart, to allowing for transparency, for collaboration. Okay. I'm going to speak to what we're talking about in terms of pivoting and copycatting. A lot of people I'm going to say may feel driven because there's a lot of talk about being an entrepreneur, but they're not innovative. How do we set them apart? Coming back to the point about teaching entrepreneurship in schools from a very young age. The little children I remember my brother and my brother was very, very innovative from small, selling his ice pops, and everywhere we go, he had something to sell. Okay, that's why he could retire at 50. And but how do we help people identify those skills? That's one of the things that comes into career coaching. Giving personality assessments. I believe in, my motto for my life is creating the life that you want to live, enjoying the life you live and living the life you enjoy. How do you create your life? By knowing what brings you joy, knowing your natural talents, and now maximizing on that. And that's how we can move away from being copycats, because everybody has something, as Lester, I love that word, innate in them that they can bring out. Okay, so career coaching, identify, and from small, we tell our children that is not what you have to do. That is not, you need to be this. No, I told my children, even if you want to be a sanitary engineer, We all know what that means. A nice for being a garbage truck person. But if you are doing that and that brings you joy, then you go out there and be the best sanitary engineer that you can be. And that is the lesson we have to look at and observe our children and the children in the school, see their gifts, and know we encourage that. Help them to create a little side business. In one of my courses last year, I taught when I was teaching social and emotional learning, and the children in grade 7 gave them a challenge to create a product or a service from start to end in terms of delivering. Teach them how to use Canva. Teach them how to do to market. And some children actually came out with actual business plans. They had to create their business plan. They could collaborate or they could be individual. And they had to put on a business expo at the end of it. Oh my God, let me tell you. This was grade 6 children. We like to tell children, oh, that's not what for you. Observe children and see what bring them joy and do not press them. And that is where it starts in terms of identifying where they can divert and where they can pivot instead of being copycats, and so product versus services, there are a lot of things that we can do in terms of creating strategic alliances and as well as I had the name, Lester said it. Anyway, it will be till I come back. It will come back. But creating strategic alliances is very, 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 very important. When we talk about scarcity of resources, the collaboration, as we mentioned, in terms of coming together, bring down a whole container load of bottles, do it under a corporation, you get discounts. The things are there, use them. Bring down, teach our staff to be productive and what productive means, and to have them. One of the main things we do not teach there's a scarcity of employers allowing their employees to have buy-in into the company. This is my business. If it fails, I lose. But we have a mindset too in our Caribbean, whether it's a Caribbean or whether it's Dominica. I don't want to put it to Dominica. It could also be a Black mentality that this is not my business. I don't want them. But if you don't get paid, your child doesn't get food. If you don't get paid, your child is not going to have that privilege of extracurricular activities. I want to share a thing. I'm right now. I'm at the age where you want to hit me for what I say, and that's fine. I'm 52. That's okay. When I had that business, my spa getaway holistic space, okay, one of the things I had it while I was working as a technical officer at DDA, and I was paying from my salary 2 young ladies I had employed at my space. They wanted this time off. They had family issues. I allowed them. And one of the things I learned is, when we are service oriented, Lester, we tend to forget that we have bills to pay because we feel sorry for people. And do you know, the 2 months that they were in my business, I did not get one customer, but I had to give them over half my salary. And let me tell you, before the end of the week, they would be at my workplace to get their money. And then I would surprise them and their legs all up on my desk eating. So the times when I surprised, then that doesn't give. I had to leave the job and go in my business myself. It was fulfilling, even though I had to sacrifice the money, but it was really fulfilling. And in that 1 month before Hurricane Maria came and took everything away, let me tell you, I have no regrets. No regrets. People came into that business. So when you're there selling your stuff, your authenticity, and especially when you're in industry where you're breaking down mindsets, because I was in the space of yoga and meditation and life coaching. There is such a stigma to coaching that you cannot sell. That's why they say you are the best brand of your business. Nobody can sell your business for you as you. So that is what we have to share with persons, that it doesn't matter if you're collaborating. Transparency, communication, and come with your own authentic self in your authentic space allows you to develop those strategic alliances. That one of the people that was with us, she now has her own space on Cork Street, following almost the model, and she was doing her own massages and her Reiki and everything else, D'Africa. She was part of our team, but there was no threat to her producing these services within this space and having her own private customers. That was part of it. She bring her customers to the space. We had legal agreements. So there were boundaries. Okay. So you set up your boundaries. Everybody know their space. Everybody knows how we're going, what is the agreement on. And you move from there. Everybody gets part of it. So it's
Yeah.
about teaching from
Yep.
small. You give a man a fish,
You
or
feed
you
him for
teach
a
him
day.
to fish.
Right. Yeah, definitely. But because this is a very important conversation, because one of the things that we talk a lot about is we look at, the successes of our young women in Dominica, the Terrys of the world, the Jodies of the world, and we're so proud of them. And then we think, oh, our young men are lagging behind, because when you see the different seminars, the different awards, the people who are putting themselves forward and have created the structure and the business plans and the bank accounts for these opportunities are our young women. And we have to give our young women credit, because they are stepping up to the forefront. But I made a very important observation today. And well, not just today, from Monday to today, because I have been glued, of course, to TV/Creole. Luckily, I have YouTube on my TV, so I have been glued. And you know what I am noticing? Just about every band, every musician, every DJ is a young man. So I think what that ought to say to us, and Terry, I want to come to you for that. Not Terry, Lester, and Terry, I have to come back to you for the transferable skills. So what that is saying to me, Lester, and we had this conversation before on our young men being in crisis. What that says to me is that we as a society, we're not paying attention. We are not paying attention. We keep celebrating our young women, and rightfully so. And we keep recognizing them for doing an excellent job, and rightly so. But we are not looking at T Village Creole from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I promise you, tomorrow and Friday is going to be the same. Because again, we don't see music as a real business opportunity. We see it as something you can do on the side, but that's not a career, that's not a job. So Lester, your thoughts on talking about pivoting. Why aren't we paying more attention to what our young men are showing us are their areas of interest, so that they too can get a piece of the pie of success?
Wow. That's an interesting question that you're asking. And I'm breaking my
Our
brain.
young men are being left behind.
It's an interesting concept that myself I'm trying to kind of put my finger on. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of practical experience. I've had a few young men and women coming for psychosocial support and counseling and so on. And there's a marked pattern that I realize. The young women are saying, I have a small business and I am in the hustle, but my boyfriend or my significant other is not meeting me at that level. So the young girls have the hair doing stuff, the nail stuff, the pedicures, the manicures, the sewing, the so on and so forth. And they're saying, he's no longer as mature. I feel like I'm outgrowing him. And you get young women saying that. And the young men are saying, well, I didn't finish college. Is the little hustle on the street I have, and so on. I think you see where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at it. Most of the rental companies in Dominica, outside of the big ones, the AVCs and the Courtesy and so on, are young men
Mm-hmm.
have rental companies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most of the spas, the pedicures, the manicures, the hair salons, and so on, are young women doing them. The music that you're talking about is young men, because we do have to appreciate that the culture of entertainment has also pushed young men to not really seek sus like tangible thing, but more where I make a little track, I do a bouillon, I do a thing, people like it, and the song catches on, and everybody's in it, and I go to St. Martin and the United States and whatever, and do stuff. And then you ask yourself, the monies that they're making, where are they investing that money? And that's another thing I find we are lacking in. Where young men are making finances, young women want to have business, but they're not collaborating. So LG Music is making music, and I'm going all in Canada and Europe and so on. I said, let me invest in a young woman who's trying a business, and we can have a business together, and both of us can go together. Because music is what most young men are focusing on. Either music and, forgive me if I'm saying it, the other hustle. And we know what the other hustle is.
Yeah, it's facts. It's facts. We're speaking facts. Yeah.
Because it's not a commitment of 8 to 4. It's I will make a couple of grand and I can hang around and see what happens next. The young women now are more, I have to work from 6 in the morning to 11 at night. And you wonder, where's the disconnect?
Yeah, mindset.
Right. And that's the thing. The young women have seen the niche because everybody are aesthetically inclined right now. The makeup, the stuff, the whatever, the whatever. The young man is like, well, if I make a little track fast, I'll make a money. How do we synergize that word? And every time I use that word, Kathy, I remember you.
And the word, as you said that, the word I was looking for is joint ventures. And as you said it, it came.
And that is collaboration.
Collaboration.
Yes. So as you're saying that, Lester, those that have the taxis, why they don't do an Uber, something like that? Organize with the hairdressers to pick up and to bring the clients home or wherever they have to go to.
And I'm happy that both of you are saying this because I just discovered this taxi company in Dominica because Lester is correct. A lot of the young men are just using their cars and running taxis. So when you call them, they're never available because it's just one car. So we finally found a real company. So from the time I heard about the company and how organized they were, I made a very sexist comment. I said, let me guess, it's run by a woman.
Oh my God. And it was true, unfortunately.
It was true. But she is hiring a lot of young men. And so we're going to bring her on the program. Of course, this is a very busy time for her. But towards the end of the year, because we all have a role to play in this. But I want to give Terry an opportunity to chime in. We've talked a lot about everything, Terry. So feel free to share whatever's on your mind at this point.
Well, I'll just say actually in the terms of collaboration and the male-female, I mean, my biggest collaboration is with my husband.
Oh, and I need to bring that group on the program as well, the honey collaborative, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, my biggest collaborator is my husband, and that I think we both propelled each other's businesses forward from the time we met. We both were in B businesses before we met. Actually, we met through B's, and just our collaboration has enhanced both of our businesses, and there's no competition. I mean, because it's easy not to be in competition with your husband or wife. So it's a team effort, but it has definitely enhanced both of our businesses. And but I see the difference in the dynamic as well. He's much happier behind the scenes. He's much happier just doing, like, whereas I'll be like out there and making sure we have the social media done and the Facebook and the posters and stuff. And he's very happy to take, the behind the scenes and the, out in the bee yard, and he doesn't feel the need to be posting. So sometimes I think there are a lot of men doing some really good, serious businesses. It's just their focus isn't always on the social media and the making posts and making reels and stuff. It's just a different way. I mean, and even like putting on a display when you're at T Village and stuff. So I think the collaboration helps, if whether you're in a relationship or whether you just have friends with different skill sets, because not everybody is good at putting on displays. And so maybe they'll say, well, I'm not going to go out there, and then when you walk through and you're saying, oh, but all of these are women-owned businesses, but there's a lot of other men-owned businesses, but maybe they just don't feel like they want to put themselves out there in the same way. But there's a lot of dynamics in that. But yeah, generally, I feel that in business in Dominica, or maybe everywhere, the like I said before, it's like you have a balancing act. You have to create your brand. You have to be distinctive. You have to be unique. You have to push yourself forward. You have to sometimes put yourself out there and not wait for everybody to be holding your hand and patting you on the back and saying it's okay and doing things together. Sometimes you have to take some really bold steps, and it can be scary, and it can be vulnerable, and it can put you, at risk of people saying, oh, I don't like Mamzelle, she too pushy, or she too this, or but you have to do it for the fact of, only we know what's on our brain. Well, God knows what's in our hearts and in our minds, right? So I feel that if you really moving forward with a positive energy and a positive spirit, there will be people that look at you and just automatically don't like you, don't want to support your business, or just maybe they have a position where they can make things a little difficult for you, and that does happen. I'm not going to deny that does happen, but I think we just still have to walk in that positive spirit. Keep the energy high, keep your vibration high, not dwell too much on the negatives, and keep moving forward, because it is a challenge. There's a lot of challenges, but at the end of the day, we creating, well, for me and for our business, myself and my husband, it's about creating a legacy. It's about contributing to national development. It's about bringing a sense of innovation. It's about showing what's possible. We want young people to see us and see where we came from and where we got to, and know that they can do that too. Where you start from, you work hard and you can do it too. And I'm not going to gloss over the fact that it's difficult and it's challenging and all of those things, because that again helps younger entrepreneurs understand that when times get tough, that's the time you have to keep pushing forward. It's not the time to give up. It's not your sign to give up, that everything's not going your way. And, that's the sign that push yourself harder, push yourself forward, and just keep going. Like I always say, just keep going. Consistency and persistence are much more impactful than just a quick one-time hit. The consistency, and the persistence, and that eventually people understand that you're authentic. You're not just here trying to make a quick money. You're here for the long haul. You're really here for the whole journey. No
Right. Thank you, Terry. And I truly hope we can have a second part to this program sometime maybe early next year, because I'm kind of booked for the rest of the year. Because we have to also talk about topics like women in competition, right? Because there's the stigma that women don't work well together. And so we have a lot more to unpack on this. But I also want to make sure that we're having a very candid conversation where we're looking at all aspects of this. And yes, we are not denying the fact that the government has a role to play in creating an enabling environment. So I don't want anybody who's listening to the program or watching the program to say that, well, you're missing an obvious point. What is the role of the government in all of this? Yes, by all means, the government has an incredibly important role to play in ensuring that we have that enabling environment for businesses to thrive. But in the absence of that, where we cannot sit and wait for the government to create these opportunities, we have to take the reins ourselves and move our people forward and create those economic opportunity. So we also have to touch on the role of culture, right? So, I'm making notes for the next program because the time is speeding along, and I don't want us to leave without talking about, what is the way forward?
Yes.
Right? What are your recommendations in terms, and I like how Terry put it, that it is not one or the other, is a marriage of the both, right?
Definitely.
It's a marriage where and she's literally in a marriage where she, being competitive herself, I'm sure on some level she competes with her husband, but she also collaborates. She said, no, I don't collaboration, only collaboration on that one. But the importance of being competitive, yet being able to collaborate. So I'm going to go around the table. Lester, let's start with you on your recommendations. What would you recommend as a way forward so that we can see first competition as a positive thing, not necessarily a negative, but how do we encourage our businesses, our young people, our not so young people to see the opportunities that come when we choose to collaborate?
So let me leave with this thought. We have to establish a marked difference between ambition versus competition. That is important. And I love the fact that Terry has alluded to it at some point, and I think Kathy has done the same thing. Where there's ambition, you will find that there will be a little bit of competition, but it also means in ambition, you can see ways where you can be innovative and collaborate. That's going to enhance the thing a lot more. And I will always say that when you have an idea, most times you cannot execute that idea by yourself. You understand? But what I think is sometimes we as human beings have to sometimes put aside our selfishness, and sorry if I'm being blunt about it, and realize that, Terry, you're going out of your way to share an idea with me. Let us see how we can make this idea work. Because 5 plus 5 is 10 plus 10 is 20 plus 20 is 40 plus 40 is 80. Rather than it's 5 plus 250 plus 250 plus 250.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because two hands are always going to clap stronger than one. We know that. You can make an impact like this, but you're going to make a bigger impact like this. And that's why I always encourage like small businesses to have cooperatives. Develop cooperatives. Because when you get a big order to send to Barbados, your products are not enough. And you're going to lose that because your products are not enough. But you, Jody, Kathy, James, Lester, and all of you guys are doing something together. Tell me who's going to lose? So the ambition sometimes have to propel the togetherness, the collaborativeness, the synergies that we want to make at all levels. And I will always commend Kathy for that effort back then. It was myself from a psychological point of view. It was Africa from what was she doing? She was doing the massages and things. It was Kathy, the life coaching. When somebody comes and they get that holistic thing, and they're going to be a lot more satisfied than rather they only came to me, and then I have to send them to Timbuktu for massaging, and somebody have to send them to Timbuktu for something else. So we have to look at it that way, and I think is until we start having more conversations like this, in addition to when these international organizations are telling us, We have stuff that we want you guys to do. Don't do it on your own. Do it together. You understand? It works a lot better for all of us. I can live with that thought. Simon, I can live.
Yeah, like the caller said that the requirements was that you had to be in a cooperative. And the question we also have to ask is who's teaching our young people? We talked about the importance of classes on entrepreneurship, but when we see, and again, we have to open our eyes and stop chastising our young men, because it just breaks my heart every time I hear the criticisms of our young men. And I'm thinking to myself, well, who's guiding them? Yes, we know a lot of our young men are growing up in households with single moms, and we all know that as much as we can love our young men as mothers, it takes a man to raise a boy into a man. So even if his dad is not available, where are the male role models? And for those who are interested in music, why are we shunning them? Why are we putting them down instead of, I mean, that was a light bulb moment for me, because the last band I saw come on to play before we started the show was Triple K. And I started thinking, wow, I've been watching this TV Village Creole since a Monday, and I've just seen, boy, young man after young man after young man after young man. And I'm thinking to myself, well, who is bringing them together to say, hey, yes, you have your own vibe. Yes, you have your own rhythm, your own style. But how can we, I like the word compound interest, right? So not just the dollar today, but how can you put a dollar into something that we can build and create structure? But then that comes down to trust. So let me make another note. We have to talk about trust
Yes.
on the next program. So yes, Kathy, go ahead.
Yes, I like you bringing trust and transparency and communication, as I mentioned. It's just totally, totally, totally important. Which brings me to what we say about you asking the question about why. There are such deep-rooted issues behind collaboration versus competition. Lester spoke about it with regards, brought it started with the terms of the cultural mindset. Then we have also the financial aspect, the lack of skills. And Terry mentioned, when Lester mentioned about the number of young men, and also you, Simon, brought up about young men, we so many involved in that aspect in terms of the music, and not many of them so visible on the forefront, which Terry answered to. A lot of it comes down to gender socialization. It's just so strange. I don't believe in coincidence. I totally believe in synchronicity. My daughter is doing a paper right now on gender socialization. And it is strange to see if we go into the classrooms, if we listen to our children, or adults talk to our children, we don't make our boys play with dolls, but we want them to be perfect fathers. We want them to know how to hold a baby. We don't make them wear pink because pink is for girls, it make them feminine. Well, guess what? Carl Jung taught us that we all have a feminine part of our personalities. But when men hear feminine, they tend to coach away from that because they figure because again of our homophobic mindset, we think that is what we're talking to, as opposed to a nurturing aspect. And that may be also contributing to the part where, well, when we're growing up, Simon, the girls have to be home before 6 o'clock, but the boys can stay outside, still play hoops away. So all of that, also in how we the children and condition in what subjects we girls do. Girls are seen and not heard, but boys can be as loud as anything else. So a lot of our socialization and our conditioning in terms of how we condition our boys versus our girls come back. It shows in that. It shows in CXC where, oh, my child did 12 courses, past 12 subjects, and then they go to college and they only need 4 core subjects to pass and to go 2 subjects at college. Really? So it's really, really deep rooted into where we have to choose what aspect of our society, what aspect of this that we're going to deal with. And it all boils down to collaboration, as we say, the government and to the different aspects of the stakeholders in the industry, in the sector, social work, government, non-profit, to come together and create a committee, some kind of committee to focus and to go forward with that. One of the things I'm focusing on is on men. Let's say I'm going to call you pretty soon. You're on my
Yeah,
list.
we need to do more to and have
Yes,
Lester on
you have
some
been
more
on.
because
Yes, you have been on my list. So I am very passionate about men taking how we position our men, even in terms of their mental health and their mindset and stigma towards their health. And all of it is a collaborative effort. Everything is, as I love the word Terry used, in terms of not being in. It's not an isolation thing. Everything is a package. Everything is a jump set and it's a ripple effect. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for accepting this discussion tonight. Was beyond the roof. It was worth your while having you here, Terry. I wish you all the best at your tea village as well. Lester, thank you again. You're awesome. Keep on doing what you're doing. And Simon, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. And these things are so very, very close to my heart. So we have 9 more minutes to go, and I'm
yeah,
going
we
to
have
hand it
time.
over to you.
Yes, definitely. But speaking of collaboration, Lester, have you heard of Dr. Kevin Laura and the Manhood series? You're muted. Wait, you're muted, Lester. Hold on, let's see if I can unmute him. Hold on, you're muted.
I heard of Kevin Lura. This
Okay.
other guy, I don't remember. I don't know, his name is not stick. I don't know if it's the same guy, but we had a really good interaction, engagement that you with this gentleman. It was tremendous.
Yes, you
Yes.
need to be a part of that program
Yes.
because he's doing some.
Tremendous.
Yes, he's doing some really important work
Yeah.
on with the young men and mental health and just trying to break through because like we were talking about before the beginning of the program, there's a crisis of men in Dominica and unfortunately nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it. The deaths on the roads from the motorcycle and other vehicle accidents, from suicides, from the gun violence, from losing a whole generation of our young men because you walk in Dominica and all you see a young man smoking marijuana. And like Franklin Moses says, what's happening now is that marijuana is being laced with other more powerful drugs. So a whole generation of our young men are now addicted to hard drugs, right? And so there is a crisis, but nobody's talking about it. So if you're interested, I can connect you with Dr. Laura because I think you can be a part of that collaboration that is required to assist our young men. But Terry, as we come to you, I have a very important question for you because now as a successful businesswoman, award-winning businesswoman, I am sure that others are interested in potential collaborations with you. And one of the important things I think we need to touch on before we leave tonight is what collaboration is not. Because I get the sense that we have folks out there that believe that collaboration is you, Terry, having spent years upon years learning, sacrificing, toiling, experimenting, and here you are. You're on the rise and you're doing well. And I get the sense that there's some folks who want to just come in and just have you laid out for them and said, here is everything I've learned, so you can do it now overnight. So kind of just talk to us and touch on what collaboration is not, so that people know that when you come to the table, you actually have to bring something to the table. You can't simply come with your empty open arms and say, hey, Terry, just give me everything. And instead of taking the 5 years you took to figure this all out, I'm just going to do it overnight so I can be a success. So let's touch on that before we wind down.
Yeah. I think even if you handed somebody a template, it would still be difficult, you know. It would still be, they'd still have their own challenges and everything. Um, I'm really happy. Like I'm always talking to small business owners. Like I'm literally like an informal directory. Like people are always calling me, okay, I know you're gonna know this. So I'm just gonna ask you. I have those kind of messages on my phone like daily. Um, I like to be a resource person. I like to know because like as I actually got an award of, like I think this year, and it was a Trailblazer award. And Sharon from Dexia said, well, and then I was going through some challenges, and she said, well, as a trailblazer, you're the first one hitting against those challenges, right? So there's no one you can call maybe to, you have to figure it out and then open that door for others. And I was like, well, yeah, that's like kind of the point, right? That's the point of doing a lot of this work, is not to just go through the door and close the door behind me. I really want to bring people along. And I'm really happy to, like if somebody's going for a grant, there was a grant coming up, and I'm happy, I will give you my template. Like I have no problem with that. Like, here's what I did, because you can't, like, their business may be different, their approach is going to be different, but they can see certain aspects of what works, right? So I'm very happy to share a lot of my time and resources to help other business owners. Like you said, I mean, you don't want somebody just coming and trying to, hey, what's your formula? Like, can you tell me
Right.
exactly how you did that from A, B, and C? No, obviously, there's a certain level of common sense and protecting your intellectual property. But in terms of like the general like work of creating a business is not easy, and I'm happy to collaborate in whatever way I can and support in whatever way I can. Because as well, I'm not always the first one, to go through something. And I will also need to call on somebody that's been through the experience, that has more knowledge than me. And I would like to be met with the same welcome that I would give out. Like I said, what goes around comes around. So I really do believe in that. That you give out that positivity, and it will come around. Yeah, so I think that there's a lot of space. There's space for even more and more and more sharing and collaboration. Obviously, we're not just gonna give everything out, but let's just try to help each other out a little more. If you've got a little bit of insight to, a shipping company maybe, or something like that that can help somebody else, it's not going to hurt you to share that.
Yeah, and so I want to continue this conversation because I think we have to slow and steadily chip away at that mindset. Because when we hear how Terry speaks so beautifully about just being open, because gratitude is a great multiplier. If you're grateful, you're willing to share. I believe in karma. What the energy you put out into the world is the energy that is going to come back to you. So I really want to thank you, Terry and Lester, for being here. Again, we know it's the Creole season, so there are other places you can be. I know Terry is super busy during this season, so I want to thank you again for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. So again, if you joined us late, we were talking about why so many of our businesses focus on walking in the spirit of scarcity rather than the spirit of abundance. And we were joined from Terry from Be Natural, as well as Lester from GL Psycho Support Services, as well as our co-executive producer and host, Mrs. Kathy Robinson-Sellen. Let's take a couple of last comments. Muriel says, this is a very interesting discussion. And Sharon, thank you so much for all your contribution this evening. She says, many of our young people try to do things in their own and break. They figured their ancestors worked the hard way. They want easy money. Oh, Sharon, I truly hope that is not the case. And that is just a small portion of people that think that way. But as always, we are grateful to be on this journey with you, and we continue to harness the power of technology, international radio, social media, and podcasts to leverage the skills and expertise of our Dominican and Caribbean people and friends of the Caribbean around the world to build the capacity needed for the sustainable development of Dominica, the Caribbean region, and our Dominican diaspora all over the world. And Kathy said it best, those strategic alliances. So when we connect Lester to Dr. Kevin Laura, that is what a strategic alliance is, because we connect the people who are involved in the same fields, the same industries, so that we can have even better outcomes. And the question we always have to ask ourselves at the end of this program is, what role can we play? How can we get involved so that we too are no longer on the sideline of talking about what we ought to do to secure the future of Dominica, but what we can do? And so I invite you, if you are doing something that is benefiting Dominica, the Caribbean region, or the diaspora in any way, not that you're thinking about doing it, but you're actually doing it, I invite you to contact us. So you can reach me at pushpast10@gmail.com. That is pushpast10@gmail.com. And I say it all the time, I give out my email and then I get text messages. So if you figured out who has my phone number, you can feel free to reach me via WhatsApp. But again, thank you to our listeners. Thank you to everyone who joined us on the Q95 FM pages on Facebook and YouTube, as well as Push Past 10. Again, thank you to our guest, Lambi. Thank you for being on the console. And so this is our final program before November 3rd. And so we want to wish you a happy Creole season. If you are like me and you're not in Dominica, it is live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. So make sure you just immerse yourself in our culture, because I also think that this is the time of the year where we re-energize ourselves to recognize who we truly are. It's not just about the siwa and the bouillon and the drinking. It should also be a time of reflection where we look at what our ancestors went through to secure our future. So use this as an opportunity to refresh and to rejuvenate your spirit for all the battles that you're facing right now. So again, thank you everyone for being here. And with that, we say good night, good evening, bonsoir, bonsoir, whatever language you speak, until we meet. Kathy, one more thing?
Yes,
Yes,
just a quick thing.
Quickly, Lambi has to
Just
go
a quick
home. It's
thing.
10 o'clock.
In terms of what we can do, we can be mentors. I remember the
Yes.
youth division had a mentorship program. I'm not sure if they still do that. And let me just shout out to the BPW or BPBW Women Group
Oh,
organization. Right now, they are doing recognition of men.
yes.
So I want to call them out to keep on doing that. And as well as, how do you identify where to develop strategic alliances? You need to know your process, write out your process, and at each spot, who you need to help you in doing that. So
Mhm.
Lester mentioned when he hears synergies, he remembers me because my business is Olive Tree Synergies. So you can also send me a message at olivetreesynergies.llc@gmail.com. And we can all be here and help you out. So I just want to leave you for a quote. Terry said it best. Competition is not about trying to defeat others. It's about trying to be the best version of yourself. And Helen Keller told us as well, alone we can do so little. Together we can do so much.
Yes.
Thank you again, and you'll have a great week. Enjoy the crab apps and everything.
Yes. So
For
guys,
us, those of us who are not there, and all the best. Have a
yes,
good
so
night and have a good week. Happy
so this is the
Independence.
beginning of our series, and I hope that you will join us for future episodes. So guys, get some rest. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you on another program. Take care. Thank you, Lambi.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Roots Connections on Q. 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. every other Wednesday on Q95, the big station. Dominicans journeyed beyond our shores for decades in search of economic opportunities and educational advancement. Many are ready to give back to their cherished nature island.